Hi, hello, welcome everyone to quite a big event. 5 years of Kanka.
Welcome, everyone.
We are going
Hopefully,
to. Oh, sorry, Jay, go for it.
I was going to say the usual caveat. Hopefully, the audios are good and you can hear us both.
We're about to find out, I
That was it.
guess. I can
Yeah.
see that it seems to be working for the stream. We'll wait a few minutes before we get into the meat of things. Give time for people to sign in, and see our lovely faces. Yeah, no, So as a precursor to all of this, I seem to have fallen ill quite badly. So if I sound a little bit off and if I seem a little bit dazed, it's very much the honest. But Jay will be doing the heavy lifting today when it comes to talking.
Yes. I won't have the same enthusiasm about stats as you do, but I'll try and do you justice.
I'll make sure to perk up just for stats. Don't worry. Um,
Yeah. Do we just want to jump into it?
Yeah, as I say, we'll give it another second while we pretend that everything was smooth. There were no technical issues this time. Lies.
Yeah, everyone, don't forget in the Discord and the live stream questions channel, you can find in the pinned notes the link to the bingo. So make
yes.
sure to have your bingo open, and we'll see how much we get we manage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Lies.
All right. Yeah, everyone, don't forget in the Discord and the John, can you mute the? Yeah, thanks you. The screen sharing. Otherwise,
I was hearing it too, and I was like, "Oh wait, hold on, I did something wrong." Cool.
We know what we're doing. This is the first time we do this.
Do you know what? Obviously we've started doing the monthly ones now, but we've done quite a few of these live streams over the years, and it definitely doesn't feel as weird as it used to, but it's still a feeling that I do find a little bit odd.
Yeah, it's definitely just us chatting, but with the knowledge that people are listening.
Yeah. You just kind of have to make sure you don't say anything too stupid.
Yeah, I'll switch into French.
Yeah. Also, so I'm hosting. I'm still having these issues with the alt tabbing on my screens and it like freezing the feed. So if suddenly you notice that everything's gone completely blank, just shout and I will stop alt tabbing. But anyway, I think I'm pretty sorted. I think I figured out why it works or doesn't work. We'll see. Yeah, happy birthday, Kanka. 5 years, momentous. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that 5 years ago, Jay dreamt this up.
Yeah, I repeat this story, but I was just there was no tool for managing my D&D campaign. I had a wiki, and I couldn't control what my players saw, and I couldn't invite them to edit only partial stuff. And it was just a mess. So I just built Kanka in a weekend and expecting me and my players to use it, and that was it.
Yeah, and here we are. Sorry, I just weirdly enough.
The Twitch will never get it to work. I think. I don't know what it is. I've tried resetting it, resyncing it, because we use Restream to stream to both platforms.
Shoot!
And yeah, Twitch is just Twitch is Twitch.
Okay. Oh, I'll just do it here. Hold on. Let me just tell that person.
Yeah. I also have the option of disabling the Twitch try. I think it works if you have no ad blockers. Something which once I managed to have it work on my end, Like Firefox, now I use Chrome, but yeah, it's not sure. Anyway,
Yeah,
we
I
then
just put
to
the
we
YouTube
then
link on the Twitch chat just to make sure that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happens with Twitch. They're just yeah. Every time it seems to mess up. I think from now on we'll probably just stick to YouTube as
Yeah.
it's anyway where you know I want to say most people view this, but it's not like a lot of people view this anyway. It's for our amusement as much as anything else. Right. Shall we get this kicked off slowly but surely?
Yeah, 5 minutes intro.
Sounds
So,
about right.
all right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
just to give a bit of
this
structure, we figured we'd start by going through last year slightly. I mean the last year, not 2021, um, and and then we'd probably move on to the questions that we had, and then beyond that we'll go over the survey, and then we'll talk about next year, and obviously the most important part, which is the winner of the raffle for the survey answers. So as I mentioned, I've managed to catch some kind of illness. We'll see what it is, but I will let Jay do most of the heavy lifting. So Jay, perhaps you want to start us off with a brief overview of the past year.
yeah, this past year has definitely been the most exciting in Kanka's history. Um, Mostly because it's now not long. Well, we now have an employee working on the team, which isn't just us. So
Yeah,
that's a lot more responsibility, both to make sure that that the company keeps the Kanka keeps getting better, and it's also for me a lot more enjoyable to have a more mentorship role and management role than programmer, which I do have my origins in programming, but it definitely something after 15 years of doing it professionally. Uh, it's a very appreciated change of pace. To have more, mentorship and management, and focus maybe on bigger picture elements of Kanka's growth. That also meant we had to create in a short amount of time a lot of processes and documentation as how we hire someone, especially with us being fully remote and Spitfire being a person we hired, he being in Mexico, same city as I am. How does that look? From how do we write a work contract, an international work contract, since the company is based in Switzerland? So yeah, a lot of fun challenges.
yeah.
And those are probably the biggest change of the last year. Like we'll see later, stats and stuff. The rest has been a continuation of what we've been doing the last 4 years. So that was definitely a big new part of our work on Kanka.
It has been. It's weird, like obviously you, you talk to friends and Kenka's been going on for a little while. Obviously, it's only been I want to say a proper business for a couple of years now. But friends, at least on my side, sometimes always a bit skeptical, like, "Oh, how's your thing doing?" And it definitely like now that I say, "Oh yeah, we're hiring," there's definitely like a different attitude to, "Oh, you're doing well enough. You're hiring." I was like, "Yeah, yeah," and it definitely does feel like quite a big milestone personally. Like it feels like we've reached another step in this journey, really.
Yeah, yeah, because October 2020 is when we officially started the company. Because I was working on Kanka as a hobby for a while, and you came in.
Yeah, so I think I officially started in January 2020, and
Yeah,
then you left your job to focus full time with me a couple months later. So I want to say it was
yeah,
like
in
April,
June.
May. or maybe June. You're right.
Yeah,
And
1st of
then
June was my first day of freedom.
first day of freedom. And then we incorporated in. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was August, September. So of that year. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. Um, yeah, big milestone,
Yeah,
I'd say.
growth has, like I said before, continued how it has previous year. Like a year ago when we did this, we had nearly a doubling of all of internal numbers of users, campaigns, daily logins, etc. And today that's still true. It's basically doubled. And
Yeah,
like hard stats, they'll be released later on the blog. We do every year where we have a whole table showing hard numbers. But yeah, users is like 165,000 accounts have been created.
I have the note. We're just shy of 170,000.
170,000.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so users hasn't quite doubled. It was 98.
no, but it's
Yeah, but
it's
yeah,
important for us, and obviously
still
this the active accounts
still
is
good growth.
probably just as important a metric, and that has more than doubled, um, which is important. you know, number of accounts created is always a bit of a fishy statistic, right? Because sometimes it's bots. You'd be surprised actually at how many. Not not like thousands, but there are. Well, there was like a period for a few days
There
where
were a
we
couple
had
thousands.
like 1,000 bots created accounts on Kanka, and it was. I think it was just like what was it? Because I was getting a lot of things about
There's all links for buying Bitcoin and
yeah.
crypto.
Yeah, that's right. So, so yeah, obviously, like just raw number of accounts is a fun metric, but it's not necessarily the most important one. But the number of active accounts is really what matters, and that has more than doubled as well, which is nice to see. Um, but yeah,
Sorry.
we also this year we actually over summer we hit 1,000 subs, which was nice. Um, the way we count subs is a
Yeah,
bit
that was
tenuous as well because we still have our legacy subs on Patreon, but we don't count them in those
yeah.
calculations because Patreon's not destined to grow. It's pretty much closed down at this point. It's just the OG crew who is still there, and so yeah, that was a big milestone for us, 1,000 paying users, um, and we hope to. We'll see if we can double that over the course of next year. I don't know that I have stats near me for where we were at a year ago. I could maybe dig them out, but not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I didn't put them in the article because I just remembered when we celebrated with celebration emojis in Discord
Yeah.
when we hit that number. Yeah, a lot of growth this year again was for me personally getting into a new role of mentorship and taking on a junior developer and mentoring him, managing him, preparing the tickets, like having a clearer vision of because previously we had the live stream, the community votes, work on those features first, and then take whatever seemed interesting in the backlog. And now it's more okay. I need an actual backlog, a prioritized backlog to give him to keep him working, busy, and also to keep him learning. So it was the first 2 or 3 months was really fun figuring out small improvements or small tickets to give him an insight into specific parts of the code base of Kanka. And then now seeing since a month or so, September, October, giving him larger, more impactful tickets, but which need all these little bits of information he's learned in the first 3 months, in the trial phase. And that's something that I really enjoy, like figuring out these processes on how to help someone, come into the code base. And then also at the same time, while he's working on tickets, something I've been doing a lot since the summer since he joined is refactoring the code, because I've worked on it for 5 years at this point. I know most of it in my head, and a lot of it doesn't make so much sense. Well, no. A lot of it makes sense once you understand the logic behind it. And so it's been refactoring, adding comments, changing the names. For example, just a few weeks ago, I changed all the, still your subscription level was still called Patreon tier in the code base. And for him who comes and doesn't know this legacy Patreon sync, he didn't know what that represented. So I changed all the code to make it just tier now, or pledge, I don't remember. And it's been a lot of that, just cleaning up the code so it's easier so for him to work in it and fix bugs so that he can focus on improving Kanka. So that has definitely been fulfilling for me this year. Doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
And I guess for you, the biggest change is one more person to pay every month in in that system.
It's obviously like your job and my job are quite different, and I don't know that there's been like a massive change in the way I handle things on my end. I mean, obviously, there's ongoing changes and there's some adaptation. I think if I think about what my biggest challenge is actually, I think I don't know if it's a challenge. Well, it was a challenge, but I don't know if you remember, but we got sued, or at least someone was threatening to sue us.
we were threatened to.
Yeah, we were threatened to get sued, and I think that was one of my bigger challenges because that meant going through like a bunch of law texts. Because we could hire a lawyer, but we were pretty strapped for cash back then, and I wanted to see if I could make it go away without. And there was some copyright infringement on a public campaign to keep the details simple, and essentially like the lawyer in question wanted to sue us on behalf of his client for using that image without their permission, and it was in that sense, Kanka has to be seen as a social media network, which I hate saying out loud because it isn't. But in the sense that obviously we're not responsible for contributions of our users, or at least not legally responsible for the contributions of our users. So it was just a matter of taking the image down and contacting the person, asking them not to remove. And then they threw a bunch of legal stuff at me, and it was a couple of like long days, sleepless nights, just kind of reading through, interpreting various European text, like legal texts and stuff. And a lot of it, actually, I remember this was a nightmare because a lot of like the case precedence was in Germany. Shout out to our German users, but my German sucks. Like I can order food, I can get around in a city, and I know how to get my taxi to take me to where I need to go. But reading legal documents in German is not what I do best.
Yeah, and that's not the kind of thing you just put in DeepL and call it a day.
yeah, pretty much. But obviously, like some of it is lost in translation, and not everything is, especially when it comes to very technical documents. I found that like DeepL or Google Translate or whatever gives you a rough idea of what's being said, but it's not always precise enough to calm me down or whatever. But I think that was probably one of the bigger things. Oh God, I'd almost forgotten about that, But
yeah, it's a nice segue in a difficulty section.
yes.
One thing we used to have until I want to say beginning of this year is frequently we have DDoS attacks, and that's something I spent quite a lot of time this year of improving the infrastructure, of being proactive, putting warnings, alerts on my systems. And that's something we haven't seen as much. I think this night the marketplace was down for like 3 minutes because a system had to restart. Haven't had time yet to look into it. But other than that, we don't have any more as much I feel like it's been a while since we had to activate
I think so.
the
You know, I was
the
just going through your
Cloudflare
document.
DDoS protection system.
For sure. I was going through your document with the difficulties, and I saw your point on DDoS attacks. And I was like, oh yeah, we used to have those. I was like, either I've just not like I've not been part of I've not had any alerts or anything in a while, or we just haven't had any in a while. I think it's the latter.
Yeah. I, yeah, I don't have specific logs on the systems are definitely busy and we have seen growth. And I just think I think some of the improvements I've made to the code has definitely helped. And now since Wednesday with the new database server, that should be hopefully where's wood? I need to be touching wood. Hopefully this will keep us okay for the next 2 years.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, other difficulties for me was switching. I said before, part of the growth was switching to figure out the tickets for Spitfire, but also part of the difficulties was having a more bigger not bigger focus, a big picture focus on Kanka, on where do I want to see Kanka evolve, because now that I had this resource to help out with coding, the goal was always to be able to focus on more R&D or more optimization or code refactoring. And that's something we forgot to do for 2021. We kind of had a goals document that we made at the beginning of the year, and then 2022 we didn't, and that's why we have one for 2023, a kind of guiding line of what we want to improve to help with keeping that focus. That's something I lost a bit this year. Suddenly had more time to work and improve Kanka, but lacking such a clear focus on what do I want to add, and that's also part of the survey where that comes in, is better understanding what our users want and what's also cool to build and what makes sense to build.
For sure.
So
yeah, I think obviously there's we're bound to have these years where it's just a bit less big picture, I guess. Like there was a lot of groundwork that I think we had kind of avoided laying in our first year or two. Think of like the code refactoring, which was obviously a necessity with the new dev, and there's a lot of groundwork that we needed to just kind of row back a little bit and just do. And I think this year has been good for that. But for sure, we'll get into this a bit later. We do have a few goals we want to share and a few things we want to talk about, but trying to get that big picture again and trying to discuss where we're going, on a larger time frame, rather than like, oh, what we're doing for the next month kind of thing. Building the ship rather than just I don't know, repairing the breach, as it were.
Yeah, another difficulty was when in the summer, when we announced that we are rethinking the way free campaigns work. Because if you can do some math, 1,000 subscribers at $5 a month, we're not rolling in cash.
Yeah, I think the polite way to say this is obviously everyone has their opinion, and we do listen. Like we listen to literally everyone, as we say regularly. Like we live off feedback, we appreciate feedback, and there's nothing that we take more seriously than feedback. But I think over the summer we tried to put a few changes in place, and we opened them to discussion. And I think a lot of well, not a lot. Some users didn't realize that it was a discussion. They thought it was an imposition, and they reacted. I think the best way, in a professional setting, would be to say unprofessionally. But obviously, these are individuals, and it's not necessarily a professional relationship. But we got a lot of abuse, let's put it that way, and that was very difficult for both of us. Yeah. We both put a lot of time. We both put a lot of effort into this, and we both feel like we do a reasonably good job at providing a good service. And yeah, the abuse was just not welcome. It wasn't something we'd experienced before, and it definitely discouraged us for a little bit. We definitely felt over the course of the summer that, in certain ways, the hard work that we systematically put in was being underappreciated. Obviously, it's hard to say this because the vast majority of people were constructive, nice, um, you know, critical, but
Absolutely.
constructively critical, which is ultimately what we wanted. And so I don't want to just like, say everyone had an issue or whatever. No, there was a very small minority of users, very small, but very vocal and very abusive, who were just a bit harder to deal with. The vast majority of you
Yeah,
were amazing.
sadly, yeah. Yeah.
And it's important to say that, it's
Yeah,
that vast majority that makes us change our minds, that makes us go in different directions, because we listen, but like everyone, we're human. And, when someone is saying something to you nicely,
when we're
constructively, with
accused
feedback,
of
yeah, you listen because, we're not always right and we don't always know what's best, and we're open to being wrong. But when you're told that you're a piece of well, I don't know how much I can swear on YouTube, but when you're told that you're inadequate and that what you're doing is just plain wrong and that you should
that you're
just
unworthy of Kankapi's love.
you're unworthy, you should jump off a bridge, kind of thing. Like it's a bit harsher than we expected.
Yeah, because especially after 5 years of doing this and just having an amazing community, it was we were not expecting, and we learned wording is important. We're both also not fully we're fluent in English, but our mother tongues are not English, and some of the wording we could have used, we should have, from the feedback, made it clearer. These are ideas we're having, and this is a discussion. But there was a lot of heated feedback, and it was definitely there was a while I was like, okay, is it worth? There was a few weeks like I was seriously thinking, is it worth continue working on Kanka if it's to get this abuse?
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
I was
And like as user
that was
before
the
to
lowest
us,
point in this adventure.
as user before is saying, like there was a lot of thoughtful feedback, and I got like obviously some of the feedback was public because it was on the blog or whatnot, but we also got a bunch of emails, some being super abusive once again, and some being very constructive. And once again, it's the thoughtful, constructive comments that make us change our minds, because it shows us a different perspective that we hadn't thought of, and ultimately that's what we wanted, like that we wanted that thoughtful feedback, that different perspective. We wanted to hear something that wasn't just me and Jay talking to each other. And so yeah, thank you once again to anyone who was part of that conversation, positive, like constructively. And that constructively doesn't mean that you have to agree with us. Once again, like most of the feedback, honestly, the feedback that swayed me the most weren't people who agreed with me at all, but people who really took time to say, this isn't even going to affect me, but I think this is wrong and this is why. And I found that to be heartwarming, because ultimately that's what we were after, right? Oh, what has happened? Hold on.
Your stream.
Yeah, it's because something seems to have closed down. It is going to be this.
Yeah.
There we go. Boom. And we're back in business.
Difficulties, check in the bingo.
Yeah, technical difficulties checking the vinegar. Anyway, there's no need to spend the next 3 hours on this. I just wanted to, like, it was something that was difficult for both of us. But once again, for those of you who did give thoughtful feedback, we really encourage you to keep doing that, because that's what we're after, and ultimately that's what we wanted. Moving on.
Skip that part.
Yeah.
Surprises very quickly, or we can go over surprise part in the survey. We had some community questions that we can that were posted in the Discord before the event, which
we can go over
we
some
can
of the
quickly
questions.
go over.
Let's do it.
Um,
Yes.
Salvatos had a few. Salvatos is asked how Spitfire, which is our junior developer who joined in June, is settling in, and how does it feel to have the extra manpower? Like I mentioned before, it's just been really fulfilling for me to be able to focus, on more mentorship and management role, which is just the kind of job I enjoy more than just coding 8 hours a day. And it has just been great seeing him also grow and become productive way faster. Like, yeah, sometimes it's always difficult to know how long something will take, because some changes for me, I'm like, I know exactly what it is. It will be 5 minutes to change the code, test it, and push it to push the change. For him, if it's a new feature that he hasn't looked at yet, then obviously it will be more time. But consistently, he's faster than my estimates, and even with me reducing my estimates, he's still faster because he's learning the code at a fast rate, and that's just been really cool to see. And being able to use that time again to think bigger picture, to prepare. That's how I had time to prepare the yearly survey, and go through those, prepare this live stream, write the whole documentation, which we'll go over later.
Yes.
The new user docs, which is something which has been consistently one of the pain points in Kanka, and so spending nearly a month on that recently in total, I think, just building those. Yeah, and now just this week deploying a new migration database server and being able to spend last week several days setting it up, testing the procedure, then documenting it also for me or future developers in the future. Like it's been great to do auxiliary stuff that I still love coding. So I still keep the cool tickets for myself, but to be able also to focus on things which we didn't have the time, or I didn't have the time until now, because there's only so much I can do in a week without burning myself out. Next question from Salvatos.
There's actually
I don't think
one
you
quick
have
on that. User before has a comment. How hard is it to delegate tasks that you feel that you can do faster?
So it is.
It's an investment, right?
Yeah, it's an investment. I'm trying to think hard it is. Like there's some things I know. If it's just JavaScript, because he's specialized on PHP. If it's JavaScript, I'm going to take over, because there's an internal dilemma, because we're using old technology, and I'm not necessarily sure it's useful for him to learn old stuff like jQuery and just old JavaScript stuff. If we were to redo Kanka in a more modern technology, then yes, he's shown interest in wanting to learn, and I have no doubts he would be able to learn also jQuery. I just feel like it might be at his level to focus on for the moment on the PHP and learning Kanka as a whole. And then once he knows the features and everything, we can start thinking of redoing elements in more modern JavaScript. So that's kind of stuff which I have to keep. And also I'm keeping sometimes cool tickets for myself, just because, sometimes there are things where they're in the backlog since many years and I've already figured them out how to do them. And I'm like, okay, let me do this. Or also because I don't want all the releases to be just him developing everything, because otherwise it looks like I'm not doing anything.
You're supervising.
Supervise. But it's I wouldn't say it's too hard, because again, I enjoy the mental puzzle of thinking, okay, what can I delegate for him to learn a small aspect, focus on a small bit of the code, which will then later be useful for another ticket or for another improvement I have in mind. So it's always, what's the payback? Okay, he can spend a day on this. I would spend maybe an hour. But then later I know, okay, I can give him this other ticket, which I don't want to do. But now I know he has the base knowledge to take care of it.
If we
So
move on slightly. Sorry, I'm a bit aware
yeah,
of the time, and obviously we always say we want to keep these not too long, but
yeah,
obviously
and you're not feeling well, so I'm babbling.
it's okay.
Salvatore
Have,
asked, this one is a bit shorter. Have the changes in pricing / the free tier had a noticeable impact by now? And we can't say
yeah,
what, because new, like we have a graph of when people sub compared to when they create their accounts, and it's always been 30% of people sub in the first week that they use Kanka, and
yeah,
that doesn't seem to have changed recently. The percentages, it's actually, yeah, it hasn't changed. So from there, we're not seeing, and you would expect, okay, maybe these changes make them grow, but then starting on 1st of November, all the campaigns from before July will also have these new limitations. So then it would go in the other direction. So we'll see if there's a change. But from new accounts, we haven't seen a change. We also know the economy is not looking
yeah.
great in many countries. Inflation is super high. John's bill tripled
My electricity
during
bill has
the summer.
tripled. Yeah.
So we know it's not a great time. Colleagues also in the hobby with similar products are saying this end of summer was not great on their numbers. We've definitely also seen this month a sharp decrease in growth.
Of new users, yeah. Is it a decrease
Yeah,
as much as it's a plateau?
it's a decrease of growth in both subs and new accounts.
But yeah, I mean, it's not. We're not like worried or anything. But I can't say that
Yeah.
we've seen an impact. To answer the question, we haven't really seen an impact in any changes that we've implemented recently.
Yeah.
The
And it's the
next,
kind of thing which will be very, yeah.
it's hard
It's
to,
difficult
yeah, it's hard to
to
measure
measure.
anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next question. How does it feel to have your weekends again? Do you want to answer first?
What day is it today?
Exactly.
No, it's definitely been great. Both for being able to have a hard break. Also for my partner, I think she's enjoying
Yeah,
seeing me more on weekends now.
same
Even
with
if a
me.
lot of the time I'm just on the computer playing video games in the end instead of working. But it's nice, yeah, being able to say, oh, let's go and spend a day visiting a ruin, a castle, go to the beach, go into town, in the city, without thinking, oh, I could be working instead.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that sentiment. Randomly enough, I'm often very productive on Sundays. So usually I get up on Sundays and I start working and I work until early afternoon and then I work less or not at all on the Mondays to kind of compensate for that. But as a rule of thumb, yeah, it's been nice. And same as Jay, like my partner's definitely happier that I'm not like constantly working. Though I say that, I'm sure she'd disagree and say I work too much anyway. But that's a whole different. That's a different conversation. Working
Yeah,
less might
it's
still be
also
too much.
it's also because a lot of our job or a lot of work is not only like working on the business, but it's answering questions, at least for me,
Yeah,
on
client
Discord.
facing. And you
And
guys use Kanka on
that,
the weekends. Like it's just that simple,
yeah,
right?
like most, yeah, it's our peak. Is it our peak day?
I
I don't
think so.
remember.
I think Friday, Saturday are our peak days,
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
Uh, it definitely sometimes I have to force myself to just ignore when I see a notification on my phone on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah,
Just
sometimes
because,
now
yeah,
when
I know
I ask
otherwise
something on
just
like
get
on a
sucked in.
Saturday, I send Jay a message like, we've got this issue, what do I do? And Jay's like, I'll have a look on Monday. And that's when you know he's reached that level of like, I'm done for the week.
Yeah. But
Anyway,
yeah, I feel more energized now on Monday.
yeah, for sure. Those breaks are important, I think. If we keep moving on, at this stage, what kind of change would make you jump to version 2.0? I think the short answer is nothing, really.
It'd have to be because the way we develop updates continuously pushing out smaller improvements and updates and new features, it excuse me, it's more difficult to justify. Like in 1 month, we won't be able to secretly work on tons of new features to justify version 2.0. I think 2.0 would come with a massive redesign,
Yeah,
and even there,
sort of a
yeah,
soft reboot kind of situation.
yeah,
I think anything short of that wouldn't necessarily require that. We moved like to 1.0. It was kind of celebrating the fact that Kanka was now becoming a proper product instead of something that was being worked on as a side gig. Um, and that made sense, right? Because like that was a big change in the way we saw Kanka and the way we approach Kanka. I don't know that there's anything that would require 2.0 with a similar kind of big change.
with our structure, with the way we work, it might, if we get that, yeah, maybe in a few years, and we do a big redesign or a soft relaunch or
Yeah.
something noteworthy to like hit the press, hit the podcast, hit the YouTubes. So, hey, Kanka 2.0 is out. But yeah, just the way we work it, the way we do improvements, it's not the way we do software.
No, that's true. Have there been times when you considered running a crowdfunding campaign for a specific feature or idea, or just to promote Kanka? What kept you from it? I mean, obviously, short answer again, no, we've never really considered that. I think for me, part of that is just we already charge for. Obviously, not everyone has to. You don't have to pay to use Kanka, but we do have a paid tier, and I think for me, in that sense, it just kind of made sense not to charge more. I think also the only thing we would ever really require like a large amount of crowdfunding for would be something like an app, but I think the costs of that would be quite high. Yeah, can't on the blockchain exactly. Um,
Version 2.0.
version 2.0. Yeah, I know there's a delay. Sorry, I'm seeing the comment now, but yeah, no, I don't think that there's anything we'd crowdfund beyond perhaps the app. But even if we did
Yeah.
crowdfund the app, that it's not a priority. It's not something we're giving thought.
And the difficulty with that is, again, with Kanka updating and changing so frequently, it would be a constant cost to pay someone to keep updating Kanka at the same pace as we do, the app.
Yeah,
So even a crowdfunding, we'd have to crowdfund enough money for the app plus 3 years of development and growth,
yeah.
which is yeah. And I don't think we have the community to raise several $100,000 for for that.
If we move on,
Next up, we have a question from Klaus.
yeah, talking about how visuals
Um,
have changed over time. Um, I we can probably dig out a few screenshots of like even past logos and stuff, but by and large we don't really keep things. So the best way to see how things have evolved, and I must admit I did not do this, and I don't think Jay did this either, would be to dig out old patch notes and look at screenshots in those patch notes.
yeah, or old YouTube videos.
Yes. Oh, actually,
They
that would
tend
be
to
good.
have
We
quite outdated
yeah,
visuals.
for sure. We could probably dig out a few of those, but honestly, like it changes quite frequently. I think like just in my time of being at Kanka, it has changed quite dramatically. Have you
Yeah.
considered partnering with indie game devs who have SRD for the games that could be added to the marketplace to cross promote? Yeah, so there are two elements of that actually. Your notes about this answer, Jay, I think cover it quite well. It's just like there are obviously a lot of new players in this scene quite frequently, and we can't keep up with everything new that's going on. We have been approached in the past. Sadly, that has never really gone anywhere. Not necessarily because of us or because of them, but just because people get busy. You set up a meeting, you have a chat, you introduce yourselves, you get to know each other, you get to know each other's products, and you think, oh well, there's definitely some synergy that can be found here, and there's some things that we can do to cross promote and to help each other. And then 2 months later, like both the projects have already evolved, and things are already looking different, and they don't have time, then we don't have time, then they don't have time, and 2 years later, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember these guys. We spoke to them, and that was that.
Yeah. And also this part of the stats which will come out in the article later today or tomorrow, we see that D&D has ballooned in Kanka, like in all the campaigns which fill out the systems field.
Good point.
D&D went from a year ago representing 52% to this year representing 73%. So D&D is it's growing faster, and the share of D&D is growing faster, at least from our perspective, than the market. Like, new people are coming into the hobby, trying one shots in different systems, but they're staying in D&D. So again, finding the only system which isn't a rounding error in Kanka is Pathfinder 1, and that's 4%. So yeah, doing something ourselves or keeping up to date with these new systems being created all the time, it's more than a full-time job, and we're just playing D&D.
Yeah. But that being said, you feel free to contact us. Yes, I'm talking to you.
You need help with your a custom system you're building and publishing. You need help with your marketplace character sheet. Call me or text me.
Email or Discord. but yeah, I mean, we're open to things. It's just not really happened. If we move on a bit, stats I think will be covered in the blog article.
Yeah, we mentioned the important part. D&D bigger. Everything else doubling.
Now, if we move on to the survey review, the goals. Okay, so the survey review and the goals I think will go together. So I'm going to try and do this without breaking stuff. If things do
without
break,
crashing OBS,
let me know. Yeah, hold on, I need to get the right thing going.
Yeah. So while you set that up,
it's set up.
For those who were busy, we launched an annual survey for the first time this year, and the goal is to do this every year. It's also a learning experience for me to set up a survey to better understand our users, how they use Kanka, why they use Kanka, what do they want to see Kanka do better, and kind of use that as a guiding force for the upcoming 12 months. And one thing which was surprising to me is we launched it beginning of October, and we knew we'd have this live stream today, and I hoped for 200 responses to be able to have some stats to dig into, some feedback to dig into. Jon, I think you were skeptical at that number.
Yeah, I was hoping for 100 to 150.
And
we
in the end, we had to close it after less than 2 weeks because 340 responses or 70. I don't know. It was just a lot more feedback than we anticipated, and that was great.
And we're about to go over some of the highlights right now, so bear with us.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Condensed it all somewhat.
I made it look a bit prettier. So obviously, we're gonna we'll try not to spend too much time on this, but we just thought we'd share some of it. So the first thing is how people found out about Kanka. It's kind of legible. The biggest one is Google, which includes ads and organic search. The second one is social media, and the third one is friend. That's the big three.
Yeah,
I
my
messed up
takeaway
my
from
bullet
this
points. Yeah, is my takeaway from this.
Oh my God! I wrote down other things.
I've had quite a high fever for the last few days. I'm hopped up on meds right now just to get through this, and I've made a mistake.
Don't worry.
So yeah, Google.
My gut feeling was that from a friend would be the biggest by far, because that's how Kanka started. That was how the first years of Kanka worked. There was just no marketing. There was no SEO optimization. This big blue Google chunk. That's all Jon. That's all Jon has been doing the last 2 years. Is making sure when people Google world building campaign manager, they we appear at least on the first page, or if we're lucky, there's even a Google ad showing you, hey, we're the best option there is. So yeah, yeah, John's doing a great job, but because that's the biggest part, yeah, that's more than half. And my gut feeling was not like I knew he's doing obviously something good
No, no,
because
no. You
our
thought
numbers
I
of
was useless. He thought
users
he
are
was going to
going
fire
up.
me.
Reorient you to start working on the user docs instead. Purgatory. So no, that was because yeah, my assumption was Google was working, but that wasn't what was bringing in people. But no, it clearly is. Social media was also surprising
Yeah, given
because
how limited presence we have on social media, I was surprised. I guess we used to have a bigger presence on social media. It used to be something we more actively promoted and used, but it's kind of tailed off. It is actually part of the things for 2023 that we want to pick up again. Um, yeah.
yeah,
And then the using Kanka for, that was both cool and a bit worrisome. So obviously about 2/3 of users have either been using it for a few years or a few months, which is great. We love the fact that so many of you like it so much that you never go anywhere again. That's perfect. That's kind of what we want. But on the flip side, it does mean that um, we need to, sort of create better flows
we
to
have
integrate users
lots of people discovering Kanka,
and
but don't
giving up.
stay
Yeah, yeah.
using Kanka.
I think
Yeah,
that's one of the
and
issues where we need to focus. That's one of the takeaways from this is improving new user experience.
yeah, and the docs I think are one aspect, and the other is on onboarding in the app itself because we can't
Yeah,
tell people just go to read docs because
for sure.
yeah, that's a fairly archaic way of doing it, especially with so many options.
For sure.
So that's something definitely we want to eventually redesign the dashboards and try and those help out more with setting you up. So yeah, that's the takeaway from this. Like people who end up using Kanka and fill out, they love Kanka. And that's always what you expect when people taking out the time to fill out a survey is people who usually have an invested interest in the product to fill out a survey. So it is skewed to people who actually enjoy Kanka, and we'll see that in the numbers of people who like
Yeah.
Kanka later on.
I don't have that.
But we know in general,
I didn't use
like in
those
the
numbers.
stats, sorry, in the stats, which will be released, the stats table, which will be released later on the blog, we see that what was it, 12%, 8% of 12% of should have opened.
I have them.
But yeah, less than 10% of people
but I
who
can't.
create an account log in a second time. Something like that. Or yeah, should have paired.
I have them, but I can't alt tab. I mean, I can, but I can't change the window
Yeah,
because they've changed the.
let me quickly read the number. So yeah, active accounts. Yeah, I didn't do these numbers justice in the article.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, actually, I say that because I used to have a weird number which counted users who created an account over the last 3 months and logged in a second time, and that isn't as important because now we see the number of active accounts. So accounts who have logged in at least twice in the last 3 months. It went a year ago from 10,000 to 22,000, so it more than doubled. While the total number of accounts created hasn't exactly doubled; it's less.
So
We are doing a better job of retaining.
That's
Yeah.
good. Right, if we keep moving
But yeah,
on.
we need that. Yeah.
I'm on train to get these stats out. So now, how often do people log into Kanka? I was expecting multiple times a week would be the dominant answer. Obviously, that's how. I mean, I didn't expect many people to log in more than that, really. And we find that is indeed multiple times a week is the orange. That's over 50% of our users, and that makes sense to me. There's a good chunk that are multiple times a day. That, I mean, that's impressive. If you are multiple times a day on a regular basis, that is impressive. There's also another solid chunk about the same size, multiple times a month. I think that also makes sense. Not everyone has the time to do it multiple times a week. And a few other who are either it depends or infrequently. And also, there are some who are always logged in. And to those people, as I say in my slide, you can contact us, and we can enable parental control on your accounts if you need enforced time away from the PC and from Kanka. We love that you love Kanka so much, but I don't know if it's healthy. But yeah, that didn't really bring up any surprises. I think that was very much in line with what we expected.
Yeah.
And then when it comes
to
it'll
be interesting to see in a year how that evolves with the changes we plan.
That's true. And then if we look at how people use Kanka, so the numbers on the screen are not mutually exclusive. From left to right, you've got campaign, player, world building, and inspiration. There is a small subset of people who use Kanka purely for inspiration. I think that was 4%, or not purely, but for inspiration. I think that was about 4%, which is great. Honestly, that's kind of why we created. That's not, that's kind of why we have a public campaign, so people can inspire each other and stuff. But I think it doesn't really come as a surprise again that most people using Kanka do it to run an RPG campaign. I was a bit surprised by the amount of players. I think that is higher than I anticipated. But once again, not mutually exclusive, so it's very possible that these players are also DMs.
Like all the 3 of the players in our campaign are players in our campaign and multiple time DMs on the side. But yeah, inspiration shows that we need to improve how maybe public campaigns work, or how we can feature cool stuff. Just doing them with community world building prompts probably isn't enough. We need to have a more proactive system, kind of like Obsidian to have, where they had campaign of the month or campaign of the week. And yeah, we need to see how we can. If there is, if people want to be inspired but are not finding inspiration, we can improve that. If people are not interested in finding my gut feeling is, you can always benefit from inspiration.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, we don't have the, obviously public campaigns exist, and, you've got a page to find them and stuff, but it's not necessarily the clearest. And we do showcase winners from past world building problems. But yeah, that's probably something to be done there. Let me move to the next slide. Boom. I want to stay up to date about releases in Kanka. I think everyone wants to hear more from Kanka within Kanka. That was a surprise to us. And it is... Well, was it really surprising? It was kind of a surprise. I was expecting more people to want to hear from us via email, but I guess we all have very, very full email inboxes, and yeah, it's one of the things where it's not what I expected, but once I saw the results and I've talked them out loud to myself, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. What was fun is the first, I think 40 or 50 survey results were only people the survey was first only shared in the Discord.
Yes.
And while it was only in the Discord, people wanted the Discord to be the way to be notified primarily.
Yeah.
Which was surprising, because it makes sense for them. But I also thought, but even if you're learning from this survey on the Discord and on the Discord and everything, you probably still want to see it in Kanka, because it's.
And that actually is something we are reworking the notifications within Kanka, so hopefully you'll all be satisfied with this. Yeah, notification for maintenance is a good one. Definitely something. Yeah. Also, just like the fact that we actually have now. Oh, this was actually, I don't want to say a fight, but this was something that I pressed Jay on for a long time, Now, if we are under maintenance and you go to Kanka, you see it like an under maintenance thing. Whereas, like for a good year and a half of me working on Kanka, you got a 404 error. So
You got
we just get like
503
panicked
backend.
emails. Oh, 403, sorry. We get panicked emails or messages
503.
on Discord like, "What's going on? Like, where's my data? What's happening to Kanka?" And it's like, "Yeah, we're just under maintenance. We'll be back in 10 minutes," kind of thing. But that was that was something I was very happy that now it's we have.
Figuring, yeah, because it used to work, and then we had the new servers in 2020, and because of the infrastructure change, it saw the maintenance page and read it, even if there was HTML in the maintenance page being sent back to the load balancers. It saw it as an error page, so it's just like backend error. I don't know what to do with this. The backend's down. So it was fun fixing that. But yeah.
We are moving to like a better. Hopefully, we can implement. I keep saying soon. Yeah, it reminds me I need to send our designer a little message, little hearts. Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Use a like it was. Yeah, as I say, it was a bit of a fight. I kept saying to Jay like, we need to do this. He's like, oh, I can't figure it out. I don't have time. Can't figure it out. And I was like, just do it. And then one day I was like, I think I got it. I was like, yes, just do it. Let's go.
And now I also realized during this migration, it didn't work for the marketplace. It was again the 503 backend down error. So now I've also implemented that change for the marketplace.
Good. Good.
Anyway.
So yeah, most of you use Discord. I don't know if that's a skew because Discord users will probably have disproportionately answered, but that would explain why. It was surprising, yeah. Obviously, as the slide says, it was surprising that like 25% of the people who replied didn't know Kanka had a Discord. Discord is definitely what we're most active on and what we plaster everywhere. So I was a bit surprised by that.
Every release, every page, the welcome emails, like yeah, we talk about it a lot, and
yeah. But there's this, yeah, Kanka 2.0 maintenance notifications. That's exactly it.
Oh no.
Anyway, moving on. Now about like improvements that we can make to the app. I realize now that obviously the way I've done this, it's very hard to read on screens. So
you can put the blame on me. I created that original graph.
Well, I recreated all of them except for this one because I was like, you know what? I don't want to recreate these. I don't know if you noticed, but all the other ones are different. This one's exactly the same as you sent me.
This is also the most difficult because obviously feedback is free text.
Yeah.
So I spent several hours trying to categorize stuff, and especially with people answering a whole block of text with multiple feedback. Yeah, sorting throughout, that was an interesting job, but it definitely helped me with some of the focus for next year. And then you did your own reordering based on my feed on my categorization, and we end up with a good 20.
I think I should have done it differently, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I think the biggest takeaway from this, actually, randomly enough, is the biggest single answer were for things that already exist. That was
people asking in some shape or form for something that either already exists, that exists in Kanka, and they were just not aware of how to do it, how to set it up, how it works.
Yeah, that was, I don't want to say worrying because it's not like a cause for concern, but it does mean that we're somewhere down the line, we're not communicating something properly. So they're definitely, we go back to the docs and we go back to onboarding. I think that's one of the takeaways from that.
Onboarding in docs, yeah. And I think we see it in the Discord since some questions are still repeated. We still have repeat questions in Discord, but I feel like there's less repeat questions now in Discord since we have the docs. So
yes.
Hopefully we'll keep improving them, and hopefully it will eventually result in people not requesting things which already exist. At least in the survey. Or be more aware of things which exist.
Yeah, and then let's not spend too much time on this either. But better UI was another big one. It's something we're always and consistently working on. I know it feels like it's slow, and it feels a bit slow to us as well. And if we could do it faster, we would. Like, it is the one thing that keeps me awake at night. Is that. But talking about that, obviously we're constantly in the background working with our designer, trying to get things moving, and he does amazing work. We're always very happy with his ideas. But I'm sure he'll say it himself. He's not the best with deadlines. I don't think I'm throwing him under the bus by saying that. I think he'd agree. So yeah, great work, but a bit slower than we would like ideally. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, you want everything tomorrow, right? But it's something that we're working on. And actually, the same comes for search, which was another one that came up a fair amount. That is something we're gonna be releasing next, I think. So I'm tired of saying soon, but like next.
It's in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline. It's actively being worked on. It's not something we're thinking of. It's something we're working on right now. And then there were a few impossible things that were asked for. So like as I wrote in the slide, like an app. It's not that an app is impossible per se, but it's just impossible right now. It's not something we have the time, the money, or the skills for right now. So it's just like nice. We want to when we can, and then offline mode, which kind of goes with the app because I guess the app would have an offline mode.
That's the only usage for the app.
Yeah,
would be to have an offline mode.
and once again, we'd love to be able to provide. It's just not something we can right now.
Very quickly on entity types. It was a mix, but the biggest feedback is people wanted a creatures module.
Yep.
And all I can say it's coming soon, before the end of the year.
And soon for
we
real.
We heard you loud and clear. Yeah.
Not soon, like the UX UI changes, like legit soon.
Well, this one is actually on the QA server being tested by the QA team.
I know. I'm trying to say like
how soon.
For once, it's not like soon in 3 to 4 years. And
there was one consistent request. A creature. Like there was a lot of people wanting complete control on the modules, and that's just not how Kanka and White was how it's built and how White was built. But creatures was frequent enough, more than calendars.
Yeah. Calendars all the Discord users. Yeah, pretty much.
And maps, it was a mix. Well, maps is what won the last community votes for the end of the year, and that's what we're actively also working on.
So when we say we're working on things,
of that.
Obviously there are two categories, right? There's what we have full control over, which is new features or improvement on features, which very much rest with Jay and Spitfire. So we have full control over when that gets done and how that gets done. And then there's other implementations where we require external
conceptual.
Yes. Where we're perhaps like limited, well, not limited, but where we need a designer because neither Jay or I are designers, or where we need something from someone that isn't within the team. And then that usually takes longer just because I can't, just whip that person, which I can do with Jay, which I do with
Jay. One last thing which was funny with maps is quite a few people just wrote maps, or maps in caps, maps with an exclamation mark, just maps. And I enjoy the enthusiasm. And that's something we know now to improve for next year's survey is to ask people to be more actionable with what they want improved. Because I agree, maps can be improved. Everything can be improved if you name it. But it definitely helps when you tell us what is the pain point you're facing to better categorize improvements in the future.
So good stuff there. Some of it will be worked on imminently, and other things will be a bit longer term. And actually, this brings us to the last slide, which brings us to 2023. So, objectives for 2023. as you can see, the first thing we mention is UI UX. Because yeah, we're very very aware. Lists, entity previews, and notifications are things that we're actively working on. By actively, I mean, it's just a back and forth currently with our designer. They will be the next things that will be implemented. I don't want to give dates because they will be wrong, but that's what we're actively working on. There will be further improvements down the line, but those are definitely the first things that you will see implemented. Jay, perhaps you want to take the R&D
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, R&D means these are things that we wanted not necessarily develop, but investigate what are options for. So spend time testing out existing tools for a family tree, a whiteboard, or a dice roller, and see if there's no tools which work for, excuse me, for our needs. How can we develop them with the skills we have internally in the team? So yeah, just a lot of figuring out, doing research and development, seeing what exists, what can we use, and what do we have to build our own. A family tree is something I'm fairly sure. Yeah, well, all of them will have to build on our own to some degree. It's just
Solutions.
figuring out
Yeah.
what can we use and what the community needs from these features, because these are the kind of features where we want to get it right or close to right the first time, and not build something that we think we would be useful but doesn't
Yep.
end up being useful.
Yeah, the family tree, I mean, I'm going to be repeating what I've been told because obviously I'm not the one coding these features, but from what my understanding, a lot of plugins that we could potentially use are very much for real life and therefore are
Yeah.
reasonably limited. Not limited in the sense,
Yeah, a
obviously,
lot of them.
people think, oh, family tree easy, right? You've got two parents and a bunch of children. But I guess like often with this, it goes back a while. You've got special game types where it goes back even further. You've got different relations. You've got a lot more. What's the word?
Variety.
Yes,
That
variety
I said in the real world.
than the real
Yeah,
world would
this is where fantasy
suppose.
tool don't be boring and just make it a man and a father and a mother.
Yeah.
You can be more creative. If our family tree falls flat on that, then we're not a well building tool. We're just a family tree builder.
Or familyancestry.com or something like that. And
Kanka
then
3.0. Find who you're related to.
yeah. 3.0, yeah. And then collaborations. This is something that's come out a few times, and I think the main ones we have. I put partnerships with YouTubers. I think just streamers in general. We've had a few streamers reach out recently, and we are going to be running some trial projects for collaborations with those streamers. If you are a streamer and you see this and you're interested, just email us at hello@kanka.io or just message me on Discord. You can also message Jay, but he'll just send you to me. So message me. Um, and yeah, we will be trialing a few things. We've already trialed a few things, and we'll be seeing where that goes. And then the other thing, something we've been teasing for a while. So I think, I mean, I still don't want to like officially say it, but we have a collaboration with another website that does complementary. So we're complementary. We offer different services, but that are complementary. And Jay has been very hard at work working on the implementation of that project. And the objective for us is
Suffering.
the end of the year. So you will be hearing a lot more from us on that within 2 months or so. I'm making it public, Jay, so that now you have to do it. No, I joke. Yeah. I don't want to go more into anything because it's not worth it right now. Well, not that it's not worth it, but it's just like I'd rather have a finished surprise. But we are actively working on what we think is quite a large partnership, and we will we've been working on it for a while now. Actually, we put like we finalized what we were going to do back in June, and it's just since then it's been just a slow, incremental process of implementation and development. So expect to hear more from us on that soon. And then it is interesting. It's unrelated to D&D specifically. It's related to world building. Yeah, it's related to world building. It will.
Although it probably has a penchant for fantasy.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it won't necessarily be useful
So yeah, it
to
will depend
everyone,
on your setting.
but I think it'll depend on your setting. Is the best. Yeah, it's more setting dependent than system dependent. I think that's fair to say. So yeah, hopefully we'll have more on that soon. And then yeah, running your games, Jay, I'll let you take that one as well.
Yeah, that's also something which came out several times in the survey, and something we already had internally talked about of improving. Is firstly some form of session planning, just to unify that, especially for World Marches campaigns, where they're like, okay, Friday, 6 p.m., 6 players, first come, first serve, and having a system in Kanka to be able to RSVP for a session, and also use that as a way, an official way to do a session prep in Kanka. Use your session as the entity, or maybe not, I don't know yet. That's stuff we want to figure out and build session planning in Kanka, and then related to finding inspiration. Well, not really, but people are coming to Kanka looking to play D&D for the first time or other systems, and we have a application system that we built for the Tales from Everywhere campaigns, but we can do a lot more there, so we want to improve that system to be able to find campaigns while looking either for player or for DM, streamline that whole process to allow more people to come into the hobby and use Kanka to start their role-playing adventures, being sucked in and then spending the rest of their life dedicated to creating orphan rogue tieflings. And then that brings us also to part of redesign notifications is, this system, we have to rethink notifications in Kanka for this kind of information, like if someone's applying, if there's a session which is going to be run, just, make it easier for DMs and players to be notified. So I want to see that if it's a system of links, if it's in Kanka, if it's emails, if it's a messaging system, we're not sure yet, but that's part of what we want to figure out. So just improve that aspect just to make playing the game. And because that's, from our survey, we saw people use Kanka primarily to play games and want tools to help them play games. So we already have all the groundwork for world building. Kind of, push a bit more in the playing the game parts, helping with that.
Great.
Next up, we have documentation, and I'll just continue with this.
Yeah, I think the last ones are, well, this one's for you as well, and then I can take over for communication.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned several times, it's continue improving it. We set up on the Discord a channel for people to request specific themes or aspects they want to be explained in the docs. So feel free, if there are things that would have been helpful to you, just ask them there so I can work, because there's just lots of stuff, and I can talk about nitty-gritty functions in search, but that's maybe not what new people are getting stuck on. So I definitely benefit from user feedback on there. And then since it's all open source, source available, I guess would be more correct. The docs, try and make it collaborative, see if we can get help from most of the community, even if it's just building a skeleton for what then I need to work on, to set up some system in there. and then in general better integrate it in the app, because I'm writing all this documentation, but then you have to know it exists, and that's from the survey or so. Half of people were not aware that it exists, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So having more links. Hey, this feature might seem complicated when you're setting up your calendar moons or whatever, and there's a button. Learn more about how to set up moons and what they can do in our docs, and
Yeah, I
put
think that
more
would be
links
helpful.
to the docs throughout the app for everything which is explained in detail.
What came out is that
Yeah.
about half of our users knew that the docs existed. The vast majority of those who knew found them to be useful. A very, very small minority did not find them useful. So yeah, I think the expanding on the docs and obviously making sure that more people are aware of their existence is a double whammy. And then yeah, if we go to communication, so obviously we've been trying and we will continue to try to sort of front load our communication. Like obviously in the past we've sometimes made changes and then we always tell you about the changes once they've been made, but we haven't necessarily been as good as we could be when it comes to discussing changes before they happen. Um, and I think that's where the roadmap comes in. We want to have a more sort of visible roadmap because currently there is no roadmap, right? It's just kind of, well, we'll have active community
Here's a link to
votes.
the community votes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what the roadmap is. And I think we are, for those of you who participated in the latest community vote, you saw that we're moving to a sort of a more multiple month format with bigger items, and the idea being that we can hopefully create a bit more of a visible roadmap for what we're working on and what we will be implementing over the course of the year. So there is, the community votes and the roadmaps kind of tie into that, and they kind of go together. And then obviously the newsletters is something that I've been handling, and I'm not quite happy with where they are. The results from the surveys, we didn't ask about newsletters specifically, but when asked how people want to hear about updates and stuff, newsletters was not really a priority. And I think I need to rework them slightly, make them more adapted to what we want them to be. Because I've tried several different things over the years with those newsletters, and some have just completely disappeared because no one read them, which is fine. Like obviously, like that's on us. I just need to rethink exactly how they are. I can't say that I've really found yet a format that I can share that we will be sticking to, but they will be taking a different shape. But yeah, communication is gonna change a bit. We've already, as I say, we've made some changes, and we are continuing to make changes to discuss some of the changes, some things we're implementing ahead of time. Actually, when it comes to we have a guest on stream. When we will be sorry, I lost my train of thought. When it comes to the UI UX changes, actually, we'll hopefully be able to show some things soon, and then have your feedback before we implement anything. We have a question, Jay. When was autolinking coming?
That was not something which came up much. I think it was only that user who requested it in the survey.
I hope you heard that,
No,
Rob. I'm
sad.
afraid that it's. I mean, maybe it will happen, but it's not.
It's not something the community requested in the survey in any sizable manner.
So, yeah, I think mostly that kind of wraps up everything we wanted to discuss. Frankly, let me.
Yeah.
I can't.
The only, unless there's any questions, the only thing left was the raffle.
Oh yeah,
for
the
the
raffle,
free
obviously.
booster.
So
this is
we can do for the raffle. Do you still have that sheet with all the? Hold on, let me try and do this without. Yeah, that works. Okay.
So we have 288 people filled out the email field. Sorry, 287.
Right. 287, you say?
Yes, because the first row is the column, and it's 288 rows.
287. You know what? I'll just do 2 to 288 because that way it'll be the exact number rather than having to subtract.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing math -1. Oof.
Yeah, Phoenix, I agree. Like I don't really use that as like either. So I think I need to change them to something that works better. So anyway, you can all see my screen right now, and I am about to generate a number between 2 and 288 to see who wins. We won't. You know what? We can do. Jay, because I can't have this tab open. Can you open up the
I
admin
already
panel?
have
Ah, right. Let's generate and let's see. Boom. 115.
115. So 115. So let me go and look in the admin panel who this user is.
We will
Let's see if
obviously
it's a valid
be
email.
contacting them via email, but we can't share emails publicly, so we will just share their username right now.
So they are on the Discord.
Ooh,
And logged in yesterday. So
nice.
it is. I'm not sure how to pronounce this.
Try. Butcher their name.
Well, I can say their Discord name is P13_lover.
And the Kanka name?
The Kanka name is the same thing.
There you go. P13_lover. Congratulations. You have won a boost. We will contact that person via Discord and via email if necessary. But yeah, I think that covers everything really. An hour and a half, neat. I suggest we stick around for another couple minutes. If there are any questions or anything you'd like to discuss or anything that, yeah, if there's anything, we're going to stick around for another couple minutes. And in the meantime, we'll just sit still and look pretty.
Show my cool Kanka
Oh
t-shirt.
yeah, the Kanka t-shirt.
Talking of merch.
Woo.
Yeah, merch was something in the survey which was talked about, and the feedback is, yeah, we took it down, the merch store. There were a few initial sales on the first week, and that was earlier this year, I think, or last year.
It was December last year.
Last year, yeah. And that was it. And that's both on us. Well, the feedback was either people are not interested or the designs were not. The biggest one was people just not interested.
Yeah.
And then second was designs that inspired them, or second was too expensive with shipping and everything. And yeah, it's something where we have to sell a lot just to even break even on these systems. I think that the most we ever made was -$28 on the first month. Because remember the first few days or so, we were way underpriced things considering the fees.
Yeah, we were losing money on everything we sold. That was great. That was a learning curve and a half.
That was a fun experience.
We didn't sell very much. What we sold, we lost money on. The perks of the job, learning new things all the time.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think we may sort of go back to that in the future, but I think for now it's very much not a priority. Not that it ever was a priority, but it's now very much not even something we're thinking about.
Yeah, from the surveys, we don't have an audience which would be interested in at least the way we originally envisioned merch.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, haven't seen any questions, so I can probably
I don't have
close it off
because I can't. But
yeah, no, people have been using the YouTube
perfect
extensively.
Just
today.
The way I like it. Well, thanks for those who tuned in, and for those of you watching at a later date, I hope this all makes sense. Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining. See you latest in a year. Well, we'll try and do that.
Yeah, maybe we should just do this every 6 months or so.
Yeah, the blog article will be shared very soon.
Oh, we almost forgot. similarly to last year. Oh, Jesus, how am I the one who remembers this? You showed me the code like systematically. um, yes,
Yeah.
yes. You see. Now it's hitting you.
We didn't have that in the document. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, so similar to last year, for any new yearly subscriptions, we'll be having a coupon code for the next week, starting tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
20% off, just like we did last year for our 4-year anniversary, and likely we will do that again next year. But yeah, for any new users who are kind of on the fence, now's a good time.
Yeah. Tomorrow is a good time.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
yes,
the coupon will be plastered in the app. You'll see it's at the top of every page, and there'll be the coupon field in the subscription system. So yeah, 20% off your first yearly subscription.
Great.
All
I think
right.
we've actually said it all. Yes, we are also
Yeah.
looking forward to the 10-year live stream. Well, let's hope we get there. Fingers crossed. How many fingers can I cross? Yeah. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Pleasure as always. And you can find us on Discord or via email if you want, or carrier pigeon. But we're not giving addresses out, so good luck. All right.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.